So, what are we doing every day that's slowly killing us, and what can we do to help prevent that? So these glasses I'm wearing now, I've got a massive computer screen beside me, and it's predominantly blue light, and it's very hard on your eyes. So I'm wearing these pinhole shades. I don't know if you can see that. So these pinhole shades are not designed for computers. They're designed to help exercise your eyes, and you can see amazingly close with them. So they train your eyes, but I use them also for using my big screen. They're very protective. They probably let through 4 or 5% of the light, so that helps. So what else are we doing every day unknowingly that is killing us slowly? One thing is using vegetable oils. So vegetable oils are all polyunsaturated, with the exception of coconut oil, palm oil, which are largely saturated, and olive oil, avocado oil, which are largely monounsaturated. So the polyunsaturated fats are omega-6 dominant. Canola oil is omega-6 dominant as well, but has a decent amount of omega-3. But I don't care, because canola oil sucks, because it's extremely polyunsaturated, like all the other polyunsaturates. And University of Florida found that it had over 4% trans fats just sitting on the shelf. Never mind taking it off the shelf and heating it up at home. So polyunsaturated fats, which are the common vegetable oils, and I'll name off the most common ones: canola, soybean oil, corn oil, safflower oil, sunflower oil, grapeseed oil. Now grapeseed oil I get asked about a lot. So the thing is with grapeseed oil, it gives you a nice product from a gourmet point of view. Like, it's a very thin, runny oil, so a lot of it tends to run off the finished fried product. But it's extremely polyunsaturated and therefore full of bad fats. Flax oil is another one. Flax oil is omega-3. It's potentially healthy, but it's so unstable. Flaxseed is actually linseed, and it was still used to this day as a shellac. You paint that on wood. My dad did this experiment and he showed me. You paint that on wood, you wait a couple of weeks, it becomes hard shellac, because it's become a plastic. It's oxidized to the point of not being a fat anymore. It's more like a plastic veneer. And he tried it with coconut oil, and months later it was still oil. It never turned into an oxidized piece of garbage. And that happens in our body. Polyunsaturated fats vastly increase our need for antioxidants to help prevent them from going bad right in our body. If they go bad in our brain, we get brain deterioration. If they go bad in our blood or in our arteries, we get damage, we get plaque, we get oxidative damage, we get inflammation. If they go into the cell membranes, then they cause faulty cell membranes and improper signaling with insulin and a host of other problems. So I believe that polyunsaturated fats are not only contributing to inflammation because they're dominant in omega-6, but contributing to the oxidation and aging and inflammation within our body, because they're pro-inflammatory and they're loaded with bad fats. The labels are lying to us. They're lying to us. I saw some chips, Lay's potato chips. Actually, I didn't see the chips, I saw the bag. And it said 0 trans fat. I'm like, well, that's really interesting. You know, as a guy who understands a thing or two about vegetable oil, and I read the ingredients, and of course it's fried in vegetable oil, and they're claiming the finished product doesn't have any trans fats. That's not even possible, all right? So there was a lab in India that took Lay's potato chips, and they were about a third trans fats. Okay, so wrap your head around that. The fat content in the Lay's potato chips were over 30% trans, and they're lying to us on the label. Other labels that are lying, margarine labels are lying. A lot of labels are lying. Canada and the United States, there's very little to no testing on that. Okay, so I've read some insider memos from the FDA in the United States. I've read Shiv Chopra's book, who worked for Health Canada for over 30 years, and he wrote a book about how does Health Canada work. They're not testing that label is accurate. They are doing some good stuff, like testing for mouse hair. I'm not making this up. Rat hair, mouse poop. They're testing for these things, insect parts, and there's actually a tolerance for them. You know, so you're allowed to have some of that stuff in the finished food, but it can't be over a certain amount. So that's a good thing that they're doing. They're also testing for mold, and periodically for other contaminants like heavy metals, antibiotic residues, especially in Canadian meat. So you're doing some good stuff. So things that we're doing every day that are killing us: vegetable oil. Do not ever fry in that stuff. When I go to a restaurant, which is rare. I never have anything fried because they're going to use garbage vegetable oil to fry with. If you want to fry at home, go nuts with the saturated fats. They're saturated, they're stable, you fry them, and they don't change. So you're going to have extremely low, if any, detectable trans fats whatsoever, even with like really hard frying with coconut oil, number one. Palm oil, a decent choice, as long as it's not from Indonesia where they're chopping down forests and killing orangutans to plant more palm trees. So I get my palm oil from Ghana or from South American production. I find that in health stores. So we got coconut is great. Palm oil is very good. Butter is good. Ghee, which is a higher smoke point than butter, is clarified butter. That's also a wonderful choice for frying. I also use the fat when I make bone soup. The fat that rises to the top, I skim that off, and I use that for frying as well, particularly if it's beef, because beef fat is quite saturated and quite stable. I've seen a lot of research that saturated fat is actually fine for your heart. Okay, so it's just a scare tactic to get us to use this junk, garbage vegetable oil that we're producing in Canada and the United States. It's our biggest production of oil is that. I was reading an article in the Financial Post, and this article had nothing to do with nutrition, but it was talking about canola oil being imported by Europe. And I thought, hold on a second. I thought Europe was smarter than that. So I'm reading the article, and right at the end they said, oh, yeah, they're turning it into biodiesel. So Europe is buying canola oil from us and turning it into biodiesel, which is great. That's wonderful. That's what we should be doing with vegetable oil, not putting it in our body and slowly killing ourselves. Another thing that we might be doing every day that's really toxic is chewing gum. Most gums, let's say 99% of them, have sucralose, aspartame, atrosulfame, and I've seen more than one example of a gum that has all three chemical artificial sweeteners. The human research with chemical artificial sweeteners shows that it kills good bacteria in your gut, drives appetite, and causes weight gain. So, I mean, there's not even a benefit. You might say, well, I don't care about my health. I'm going to eat artificial sweeteners because I want to be a skinny bitch. But the artificial sweeteners actually promote appetite and cause weight gain in human research and rodent research. So avoid them. As much as I don't like white sugar, and white sugar is honestly a problem, a little bit ain't going to kill you, and it's a hell of a lot of a better choice than consuming a chemical sweetener. All right? Another thing that you might not have known is breakfast cereal. So instead of breakfast cereal, I would implore you, beg you, eat any damn thing but breakfast cereal. You could have fried eggs and toast. You could have oatmeal, hopefully not with sugar. So breakfast cereal is made with an extrusion gun. Now let's remember this thing about the extrusion gun because it's going to come up in a little bit. So an extrusion gun generally has about 200 pounds per square inch. That's 7 atmospheres of pressure. It's literally a gun to be able to hold 7 atmospheres of pressure and 400 plus degrees Celsius. And this is how we make cornflakes, shredded wheat, puffed, any kind of puffed anything. And when they feed breakfast cereal to rodents in lab research, one of them was done in Michigan Institute of Technology. They feed them cereal plus water, and they die sooner, they die faster than the rodents getting just water. So get this straight, man, just water, starving, these rodents are living longer than rodents eating water and cereal. In the second study that I saw, they added vitamins and minerals to the cereal to try to keep the rats or the mice alive, and it still didn't work. They still croaked before their brothers and sisters who had just water. So there's something actively toxic about the extrusion gun process. It perverts the molecules of food into new forms that don't belong in our body. So breakfast cereals. Next thing about extrusion guns, so the Beyond Meat kind of burgers. I've also seen like fake ham, fake mortadella. No, maybe not mortadella, the bologna. I think it was bologna. So I've seen those and textured vegetable protein chunks. Those come out of an extrusion gun. Okay, so if you eat a plate of peas, because pea protein is how we're making the Beyond Meat burgers or whatever, you eat a plate of peas and then you take a bite into one of these fake burgers, it's a completely different thing. So how do they get that texture? It's an extrusion gun. And so if we take a look at what happens with the cereal killing rodents, I wouldn't want to have to repeat that experiment with these fake meats. Okay, so fake cheeses are a little different. If you're consuming a fake vegan cheese that's made with a nut or seed base, often they're using cashews or almonds to make these cheeses. Those are fine. They're not using an extrusion gun for that, so those are A-okay. But yeah, the fake meat, like, I don't even eat commercial meat, but I would definitely eat commercial meat before touching one of these fake Frankenburgers. All right, so the next thing that I wanted to touch on was Teflon. Like, how do you cook your food, right? So hopefully you're frying your food in a stable fat now, like coconut oil or ghee, which are both delicious. And you can actually get de-flavored coconut oil if you don't want that coconutty taste, which I don't mind at all. But cooking food with a Teflon pan is a big no-no, because Teflon is a fluorine compound that measurably off-gases bad things when you heat it up. And if you have a budgie or some kind of bird like that close to a pan of Teflon, don't do this experiment at home unless you want to euthanize your budgie. Birds have been known to die because of the fumes coming off the Teflon. You want to consume that in your food? I don't. So I cook with actually glass cookware, which to me is the safest. Stainless steel is a big step up from Teflon, but it still gives off measurable amounts of undesirable minerals like hexavalent chromium, because we're supposed to have trivalent chromium. Stainless steel gives measurable amounts of hexavalent chromium into the food that you cook in there. And I make bone soup, so I'm boiling that for days on end. So I wouldn't want to use stainless steel for that. I'd definitely use a glass pot. And I've gotten a lot of glass pots from used stores. So for the Teflon, extrudo, the oils, microwaving. Okay, so last point on microwaving, I saw a study with broccoli. So a large sample of broccoli, part of the sample was boiled in water, and then the water was thrown away, and 50% of the antioxidants in the broccoli were remaining. So you might think, well, that's pretty bad, right? Losing 50%. Yeah, that is pretty bad. Like, when I boil broccoli, I save the water and consume it like a soup. So then my percentage would be much higher than that. But the microwave broccoli from the same sample lost 97% of its antioxidants. So we're getting like 3% of the antioxidants. So why even bother? Like, I mean, I don't get it. So microwaves are, we're told that they're safe. There's quite a bit of convincing evidence that they're absolutely not safe. I haven't had one in my home in my whole life. Never had one. And I don't ever intend on having one. And you have to be careful, because some restaurants will actually use the microwave. I went to one restaurant and they were warming up some yuca, and the lady went to throw it in the microwave. I'm like, I'm not going to eat that if you do that. So she put it on the grill to warm up my yuca. And that's cool, right? I don't mind if there's a little burnt from the grill. So that's our little thing for today. Hopefully I haven't taken out too many things that you liked, but with the gum, you know, if you really like gum, you can get like a sugar-based gum or a sugar alcohol-based gum, like xylitol, sorbitol, maltitol. These are all okay. These are sugar alcohols that are found in nature. They're harmless. The only thing they can do is if you have a large amount of sugar alcohols, they can cause diarrhea from an osmotic effect in the intestines, but they're non-toxic, or even just a sugar-based gum. Glee gum is one that's American. Pure gum is one that's Canadian. Spry, not sure what country they're from. So health stores will hook you up with gums that don't have killing artificial sweeteners in it. Thanks for tuning in.